We're here. Happy Friday, everybody. I made it on time. I got home at like 3:16. What do you think? So I got my hair done right before I told her to go just kind of a little bit short so that as it's growing out, because I'm sure I won't get a chance to get it done on the road too much. Um, that it'll kind of still look good for a while. So it's a little bit short, but I really actually like it. It feels very bouncy and fun. So I really love it. She does such a good job with the color, and I just think it looks very summery and fun. So I am very excited. Also, we had a big photo shoot this morning, and I'm going to show, I did post in the Discord channel, but for those of you that haven't seen, I'm going to show you some of the sneak peek pictures from this morning because she's already posted them to her blog, and they are going to be so cute. So originally when I booked this photo shoot for Evie, it was supposed to be next week for her second birthday. And I bought the cutest little outfit from, oh, I wish I had the name of the Etsy shop so I could share it. But I bought the cutest little outfit from her Etsy shop, and we were going to do a photo shoot here in Charleston, in the West Ashley area, which is closer to our home. And so we were, planning to just take Evie out there. And then I thought, I really would love to have Andrew in the shots too, of course. So planned with him. Then we found out we were leaving and wouldn't be here later next week. So we decided to switch it to this week. And luckily she had a little bit of an extra opening. So yeah, exactly. How is Evie too? I feel like I really don't understand it. Like, I know that as you get older, time supposedly just starts to go faster, but I feel like it was just yesterday that we decided to have another baby, and that took us 2 years plus to get her from the point we decided to have another baby, because I was not quite 40 when we decided to start trying for another baby. And I didn't have her until I was 42. And, oh, sorry. I forgot to mute my phone. It's my cousin's birthday today. So happy birthday, Kimberly. She was messaging me. Thank you for her gift today. But yeah, these 2 years flew by. I really just cannot even believe it. Like yesterday we did our last Q&A from this house. So it was the module 3 Q&A for Publish and Thrive. And when we first moved into this house, I was just starting to record Publish and Thrive. And I was 7 months pregnant with Evie and recorded that whole course right after we moved into this house. So this office was barely furnished. There was almost nothing here. And I was 7 months pregnant. And now it's like the 5th round of running that course. And I don't understand how much time has flown by since we've lived here. It's so crazy. But oh, I'm glad that you made it. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys like the hair. I really like it. It feels really nice and it feels cute, and I'm excited. It feels like the perfect thing, even though I had to take time out of a very busy packing schedule to go. I think it was a really good job or a good decision to go and get it done, because that is going to feel really fresh. Little Miss born in a hurricane and full moon will be too. I know, it's so crazy. Our little Evie Stormborn. How did 2 years go by? Yes, so it was already blondish, but it was just growing out. So she just re-blonded it. She didn't do anything to the bottom, but she just re-blonded the roots. So it makes it all look lighter. Plus, when I pull it back, which I do a lot, you can't see the blonde as much because you see the underneath. So I decided I'm wearing it down lately. I don't know. For years and years, I almost never wear my hair down, but I'm just kind of feeling it lately. So one of those things. You feel this all the time. My daughter turned 14 and my son's birthday is on Sunday. He'll be turning 15 and I can't believe it. I know. Well, happy birthday to both of your kids. Teenagers, and my friend has a teenager that's turning 15, and my sister's daughter is 16. And it's like you starting to realize how much longer do you have with them in the house? And it's hard to even think about, but I'm glad we have a long time with Evie. So I'm going to show you guys these pictures. I know some of you already saw them over on Discord, but I just thought you guys would want to see them. So this is from her from her blog. I picked this particular photographer because she doesn't really do posed shots. It's just kind of like following the kids around. Look at this one with this lollipop. I mean, how adorable is this? I just think it is so, so cute. But she doesn't do posed shots. She does like outdoor, just following the kids, letting them interact or run around. And she captured so many different expressions from Evie. Like this one at the top, she's kind of a little sassy. Here she's looking at an airplane. Here she's got her little candy, and then she's got this look on her face right here, and then she's got her with her bubby, with her brother. Andrew did such a great job, was dancing with her. There are some photos too of Andrew by himself, but she just didn't post any to her blog. But this one here with her with the grass behind her, I mean, she's so excited. Just the love of it. And then here she was yelling no, and she was kind of throwing a fit, so you get a little bit of a pouty face. I just think, and this one with her like little footstep. I mean, I am just floored. They just turned out so cute. And this is just her like preview. She posted these to her blog just a couple hours after we left. So I'm like, I cannot wait to see all the photos that she took, because she's going to be taking some time to like pick out the best ones and everything else. So no, not Evie. Evie doesn't have a blog. Sorry. The photographer's blog. Sorry, that was confusing. The photographer is Tickled Blue Photography, and she posted them to her blog just a couple hours afterward. And I just think that's great. So she did such a good job. Oh, whose birthday is it? Oh, your 50th was yesterday. It was lovely, but a lot. Yes, I totally understand. I feel like as I am heading toward my 45th birthday, I keep thinking about that 5-year period between now and 50. And like, what do I really want to accomplish before I turn 50? And what do I want to do with these last 5 years of my 40s? And it's an exciting adventure. You know, it feels like my 40s have been some of the best years of my life. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, this next phase of it, I guess. So happy birthday to you. 50 is a big one. I think she really just did such a good job of capturing Evie's personality. And I feel like that was the whole reason when I was searching through her photos that I was really attracted to her style of photography, because it's just that very real photograph. So I really enjoyed it. So we do have some questions this week. I also obviously have been packing. I saw George made me laugh before I went live. He was like, I can't wait to hear how the move is going. Yeah, me too. And he's like, I was looking for that roll of plastic. I stole it so I could wrap up all my washi bins so that I didn't have to take them out. You know, I had a plan. If you saw some of my other videos on my other channel about road trip tips and stuff, and I showed you guys, I think on a Friday coffee chat, that I had that little book that I was going to put all the washi tape on the credit cards or, you know, whatever. And that just did not happen. I ended up having zero time. We have been going from like 6:30 every morning to midnight, just working around the clock, because I'm still working a full-time job and also getting the house ready to go and making all the decisions about where we're going to go next, and putting together speaking slides and stuff like that, presentations for Nick. There's just so many things going on behind the scenes, and I have had zero time to sit and do anything with the washi. So I just finally gave up on it and said, okay, I am just going to throw some of my favorite washis into a pouch and take those. And then if I end up needing more washi tape. So Charlie says, how much washi do you plan on taking? So I think it's in the other room, so I can't show you, but it's like a little, maybe medium-sized pencil case, I guess, kind of thing that I had gotten from an Erin Condren sale a while back. And I would say there's probably like 20 washi tapes in there, 15 to 20. So I had to really pare it down. Like, I know that sounds like a lot, but for me, it was like, I really want to take this one and I want to take this one. So I did the best I could. And then I figure if I need to, there's always a Michael's or local craft shops or Joann's or, you know, whoever. There's always going to be places, and it'll be fun to go and buy new new washi and switch them out. And I actually specifically chose some rolls that are almost finished so that I can maybe finish them up and then create space for new washi. Yes, exactly. Florida has washi. And I think this is the thing I got to keep reminding myself. I keep going through this panic of like, I don't want to have to go and buy new things, and we're not going to have like Amazon 2-day delivery or anything like that. So it's like, I'm scared that I'm going to leave stuff behind that we need, and then I'm not going to be able to find it when I need it. But it's like, hello, there are just normal stores everywhere. It's going to be fine, right? I know it's going to be fine. I only have 7 rolls of washi, but I got the Simply Gilded Sub Box this month. I saw today that my Simply Gilded Sub Box shipped, and I was like, no, I forgot to cancel it or put it on pause. And so it's on its way, and it will just get forwarded to a million different addresses, and hopefully it'll be okay. It'll be all right. Let's see. I thought I saw... Writer on Wheels said, I feel that way about turning 30, started to make a 30 before 30 bucket list. I think that's a really good idea. And I actually started to think about making a like 50 before 50 bucket list type thing. And then I started thinking, I don't know that I'm ready to make that list yet, because I just don't, I just feel like there's already so much on my plate right now. I don't want to open my mind up to like, I have to get these things done. Plus, anytime I've done that kind of list before, sometimes I end up putting things on the list just to hit the 50 that aren't really that important to me. So it's like, I want to really think about it. So one of the things that I've put into, I keep feeling like I'm going to have things like at the ready, but everything's packed up. But one of the things I'm putting into my B6 Stalogy, which is a notebook thing that I, could do, is keeping there's like 100 list, and we're going to sit down as a family once we get kind of on the road and make a little list of things that we want to be able to do as a family, like places we want to visit on this trip and things like that. And, seeing if we, see if we can do it. Yeah. I like the idea of a 5 before 50, because I think that, in some ways that might be a little bit better, because I think 50 before 50 would be just like trying to come up with things just for the sake of coming up with it. And I apologize if the video is not so great. I did actually change it to not being 1080p, but it still is showing that there's internet issues, and I was having them yesterday too. So cheers to getting out of this house and hopefully having better internet. And actually, we decided after looking at the phone and my other computer that it's not actually the internet, it's this particular computer. And I think maybe it's because I haven't done the Big Sur update on the Mac, because I'm always scared to do new updates on this Mac, because I've heard horror stories about like when people do like updates on their computer, a lot of times they end up, it ends up like being a complete nightmare and stuff like that. So it's too late for me. I just want to have a legacy now for my grandbabies. It's never too late to decide on some goals and things that you want to accomplish in your life. It's just, you don't have to do a 30 before 30 or wait until an even number of years. You can just say, here's the things I want to accomplish in my life, and let's get it done, And I think that it can also be fun to create vision boards. Of course, that's something I really love to do. And it's like, I don't necessarily like check things off when I accomplish them on my vision board, but it is always fun to go back. Sometimes it takes a couple of years to go back to a vision board and go, oh my gosh, that is my life right now. And it seems like no matter what you accomplish, there's always a few things more that you want to get done, or a few things more you want to accomplish. Once you hit that next level, there's a few more things on the horizon that you want to get to. And I think that's always fun too. So I'm going to pull out the questions from the Coven, if I can pull them up here. Let's see. I'm going to find the questions, because I did see that there were a few that were posted. Okay, so there's at least one, I think, in the Coven. Okay, Tracy said, as a published author, I have an ARC team, and at first they were very good at giving reviews on release day. However, as time has gone on, the amount of reviews have dropped off. I was wondering how I should deal with this. Should I remind them of my expectations a free book for some kind of review, or should I just keep ignoring it? Thanks. So I do have some good advice on this too. And I really feel like ARC team. So if you're a reader here and you're not in the author world and you're like, what in the world is an ARC team? So an ARC team is advanced review copy. So this is basically, or advanced reader copy. Some people say reader copy. It's basically a team of people that will get your book in advance, sometimes a week in advance, sometimes a month in advance. It kind of depends on the author. And the expectation is you get a free look at the book early in exchange for a review, hopefully on or around release day. Now, I personally am always like handing out the ARCs basically right before the release, because I'm always running down to the very last minute before the book is ready to go. And so I always give my team like a couple of weeks to leave the review. And I always really, really appreciate it when people read it like overnight and get that review out as soon as possible. But you know, people have lives and they can't always drop it, or they're reading something else. So that's my thing. But if you are able to get your team, like let them know ahead of time exactly when to expect the book, that's probably a better experience than what I do, which is like telling them, hopefully I'm going to have it for you on Sunday, you know, that kind of thing. So, well, you know, that's one of those kind of things. But when you have an advanced review team, I feel like over time, it's natural for some people to become less interested in your books or to get complacent. Like they feel like, okay, I've given her 3 of those reviews by now, you know, and they don't, it's not that they're not great reviewers. It's just that, you know, people get busy and they kind of lose a little bit of passion for your books, or they feel like they're doing you a favor. You know, there's all kinds of reasons why people might be less interested in your being on your ARC team over time. So I feel like this is the kind of thing you really have to nurture, instead of just being like, here's my list, and when I have a new release, I'm going to send them an, you know, a free book. You kind of have to keep up with it, kind of like a garden, right? You have to kind of say, okay, here's the expectations again. Who is still interested in it? Who is not interested in it? And let them know, here's when the book is coming. Here's when I would love to have the review. And then follow up with them afterward by saying like, you know, here's my expectation. I would love the review on release day or by this date, and give them a very specific expectation. Say, I would love to have the review by September 2nd. And then say, when your review is posted, send me a screenshot or a link so that I know you've done it, and keep a spreadsheet of who all you've sent it out to, and put a check mark when they email you back with their link. Anybody by September 2nd or 3rd who hasn't emailed you with their link, just send them a quick, kind email and be like, hey, just checking in to see if you need more time on that review or whatever. And if they don't review it, sometimes, you know, if people say, gosh, everything is crazy, I do not have time to review this right now, then you know, I'll just say, no problem, let me know when you get a chance, and keep in touch. And it's fine, because people, you know, it's a free review, but a free copy also. And you know, people have their things that they're going through. But if it happens repeatedly, or they don't respond at all, then they just go off the list, right? And that is fine too, because, you know, it should be an even trade. Now, I used to have, I think, close to 80 or 100 people on my review team, and that was really awesome. And I specifically would have like 40 or so at Amazon, you know, 20 at iBooks, or what used to be iBooks now is Apple Books. And I would have them kind of spread out. Some people that could only leave reviews on Goodreads, you know, different things, so that I would get reviews kind of everywhere. And I would always encourage people to leave reviews in as many places as they can, because a lot of times people were able to leave a review at Goodreads and at Amazon and at Apple, you know, and you can leave reviews lots of places. But over time, I really whittled it down, because out of, like, let's say it was 80 people, I would only get maybe 50 people reviewing. And I really don't want to give out a free copy of the book to 30 people that aren't really interested, because number one, there's, you know, so many other people in my group that would love to have a free copy of that book in exchange for a review. So I don't want to give it to someone who's not going to read it right away and appreciate the opportunity. Also, it's just like, if you're going to take the free book, just leave a review, let me know. And if you hated the book or you just didn't get into it, then just email me and say, I didn't really like this book. And that's fine too. But like some kind of communication. But I find that if you ignore it and you just let them take the free book and then don't kick them off your list or keep in touch or try to find out what's going on, you're just going to end up with your entire review team being pointless to you. So I think that for me, I think I have now maybe like 40 people who are like really solid, good people, but I want to totally revamp my ARC team. And anybody that's on my ARC team, I know there's a few people here that come to our chats that are on my ARC team. Anybody who's on my ARC team now that has been consistently keeping up with me over the years and leaving reviews for everything, then you're going to stay on the team. But I really want to be able to expand it back up to more like 75 or 80 people who actually care. So of course, for those of you that are here in this community or like in the Coven community in some way, you guys will be the ones that get the opportunity before anybody else. Sometimes I also do offer, just as a side note, since I have some of my books on Wattpad, I end up with a lot of people who are from India or people who don't like are teenagers who don't necessarily have credit card to go and buy extra books or anything like that. So I do offer to them free copies as well. And I'll just say on Wattpad, like, if you want to keep reading the series, I'm happy to send you a book if you agree to leave a review. And often they can't leave a review on Amazon because you have to have like a credit card and you have to have a certain amount of purchases per year. So they can't always leave on Amazon, but they can usually leave a review on Goodreads and they can usually leave a review someplace like Google Play. And so I'm happy to send them a free review copy. And what I do with that is I'll send them book 4 of the series. And then when they review it, they send me an email that says, here's my review for book 4 with a screenshot. And then I send them book 5. And then as long as they review that, I send them book 6. And that's a really good way to get some teenagers who are reviewing it and also to kind of give back to people that may not have as much or who aren't yet able to purchase because they don't have jobs, or whatever. And it's a win for me too, because then they tell their friends about the books or they give reviews. And that's been really great too. Writer Groupie says, do you think authors should be free with giving away books? I gifted one for a review and wondered if I was shooting my own foot. I mean, I have a philosophy about this that some people have argued with over the years, that the more free books you give away, the better off your career is going to be. And the more people will buy your books, the more you give away for free. And of course, when you're just starting out in your career, giving away one book to like one person is, just a very small start. But if you can set a book free, like I did with Beautiful Demons or even the Beautiful Demons box set, once you have a longer series, then you get tens of thousands of people who have downloaded your book. And out of those tens of thousands, you're going to have thousands who never even read it because they have like, raise your hand if you have literally hundreds of books that you downloaded for free or cheap on your device that you never have read, because that is me too. I do it all the time. And so lots of people just never read it. Some people read it and don't like it, but there are a percentage of people who read it and love to continue on. And so it's a numbers game. If you give away 1,000 copies, you're likely going to get at least 100 to 200 people sometimes that will go on to buy the next book. And if you only give away 2 copies, you might not get anybody that goes on to read the next book. So I think that it can be valuable, but I do think in terms of how many people go on your ARC team, if you only sell, let's say 50 books, which still is a lot of books to sell. So let's say you sell on average 50 books on your new release. You don't want to have 50 people, like everybody who buys your books on your ARC team, because then you don't have anybody buying your books right away. So if you have about 50 sales regularly, then I would try to do 5 or 10 people like reaching out. You could send something to your email list or post something on social media and say, is anybody, and if you can get people that already like and enjoy your books, then that's the way to do it. Guilty. I see some hands raised. That is so it's like there are so many free books out there that it's hard not to want to download them. But if you've been giving away some free books, either for review or like just setting your book for free or putting it in Kindle Unlimited or something like that, and you're not getting a lot of sales, you just have to continue to get as many free copies out there as possible, because just a handful of free copies might not do much for you. But if you can give away 10,000 free copies, then you start to really have a ton of people that will start to buy the books, as long as they're good books, right? But yeah, that's my best advice, Tracy. Just have a set thing. Like, if you can, let them know ahead of time when it's going to be here, let them know when it's coming. And then when you send the book out to them, say, hey, just a quick reminder, I would love to have the review by this time. And, as soon as the review is done, please send me a screenshot or a link and let me know that it's done. And then anybody that doesn't send you a link or screenshot by your date, send them a quick reminder. And then if you don't hear from them, they just don't get another book. And that's, find somebody else. All right. So that was that. Let me check the Discord, because I think there were several questions over there. Oh no, Katrina, I hope you feel better. Thank you. Those Amazon Prime picks often sit on the shelf unread. I do the same thing too. And, if you're in Amazon Prime, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get one of their Kindle First reads every month. I think that's what they call it. And a Prime reading, I think. So you get like 1 or 2 free books every single time. And I always try to download one of them, and then they all just sit there because I just don't have the time to read that much. So you have to understand that, like, don't let your feelings get hurt if you gave away 100 books and only 2 people went on to buy, because it doesn't mean they read it and didn't like it. Out of those 100 people, probably only 10 actually read it, because people have so many free books on their devices right now. And that's just the way it is. Now, back when things were just starting to go free, people were crazy for free books, because it was like, if I could tell you how many people, and you guys can tell me if anybody here, if this was the case for you, because I hear it all the time, but I don't know if it's this audience or not, that people will say, your book was the first book I ever downloaded on my Kindle, or your book was the first book I ever downloaded on my Nook, because it was a free book and it was being advertised to them as, one of the first ones to download. And a lot of people, that's how once you get your device for the first time, you want to load it up with some books, but you don't want to spend $500, right? So you go and you look for some of the good free books that have good reviews and stuff. And a lot of people said that, but these days, not as many people are like getting their first e-reader device as they were like 8 years ago when it was new. Now, most people read on their phones, or they have had their device for years and years. So, all right. Dania said, hey, Sarah, thank you for everything. You're an amazing person, and I'm so happy from learning so much from you. The other day, I recommended you to my coworker who wants to learn more about writing, and she said you're so inspiring and love your channel. Thank you, Dania, for doing that. Word of mouth is still the best advertising out there. So if anybody ever wants to share either my YouTube channel or my books, that's the best thing you can do to help spread the word. I wanted to ask you what Google Doc format works for you when you're writing. I have started using Google Docs to do writing and have saved a lot of money, but when I go back to read what I've written, it doesn't look right to me. I have tried formatting myself, but I'm not really good at it. Any advice? My next question is, I'm currently having a big issue with dialogue and emotion. I know what I want to happen in my next scene, but every time I write something, I end up deleting it. I wonder if I can actually share. A lot of people have asked me about Google Docs and if I could talk more about how I actually format my book. So let me see if I can actually share my screen real quick, and I'll just kind of show you what I do. I don't have a template, but I tend to just set it up this way every time. I wonder if I can full screen that a little bit more. How do you do that? I'm not sure. Make it bigger for you guys a little bit. All right. So that's better. So when I format my document, so everything is going to automatically be very left centered. So what I do is I take this little thing here and I bring the indent to, I usually do it to like I think I usually do the 0.19. So I go to 0.19, so everything's indented. I usually leave the text normal, but sometimes I will change this to something that I like to look at better than Arial. And a lot of times I'll change it to Arial 12. Then what I do is I like to start off with a heading. So I'll put heading and I'll put chapter 1. And then underneath that, it will reset your little thing here. I will put the point of view that I'm writing, and I will change that to heading 2. So that creates, as you can see over here on the left side, you can see that I've now got an outline started. So I can see chapter 1, I can see whose point of view it is. And then I just start typing. And So, I am writing Jackson's point of view. And I just write like this. Now, if you want to, you could have it be something that you leave a little bit more. So if you wanted to format it and change, I think it's paragraph styles. You can change anything in here, like changing what you want this to look like. You can also do changing the text to make it look a different size or different capitalization. You can increase the indent. There's lots of little things that you can do here for your formatting. But sometimes what you could do is you could also do like in the paragraph styles, you could change it to double spaced if you wanted to do something like that. But this is all I do is format exactly like this. Then when I have, a second chapter, when I'm done with a chapter, I will hit I don't usually write on this computer, so I think my Mac commands are different. I'll hit Command Return, and that creates a page break here. So it starts chapter 2 on a new page. And I do try to actually tab or hit enter before I go on to the next thing so that it doesn't reset this little tab that I have here, but there's probably a better way to do that. So I'll change this to heading 1. I'll change Harper to heading 2, and you can see how it creates that outline on the side. Then when I've got like 50 chapters in here, I can easily navigate between my chapters. Now, what I wish they would add that you can do in Scrivener, but you can't do in Google Docs, is I wish they would add a little thing here where I could like move this chapter over, but so far you can't do that. I wish I could just move the chapter down so I could reorder them. If you write in Scrivener, you get to actually reorder your chapters, which I would love that. Plus, I would love a chance to color code that panel so that chapter 1 could show up instead of that blue in like Jackson's point of view color is blue for me, but then Harper would be purple and so forth. I don't know if you can do something like that in Word. I'm sure that you can. You can probably do a lot more in Word than you can in Google Docs. But Google Docs I like because I can get it from anywhere on any device, my phone, my tablet. I can even get it from someone else's computer as long as I have my Google login, right? I could be like visiting my sister and I forgot my laptop, but I want to write something down really quickly. I can just log in and start writing. Whereas I don't know if you can do that with Word. I feel like you can actually do some Word stuff in a web, but I love this for that purpose because you can easily write from anywhere at any time. I personally did not like Scrivener because of the inability to like go between devices as easily. I think they've made some updates to that, but this is the way I like to format it. Now, when you're reading back, I'm not sure, Dania, if you mean that you're just reading it back inside Google Docs or if you're trying to like export it, but I never actually like use this as I use it for editing, but I never use it for like my ebooks. Once they're formatted, I use Vellum for that. And I would like to also maybe do a tutorial on that in person, in Heart Breathings. But that's kind of how I do my basic formatting. And that addition, when I first started writing in Google Docs, got so dark in here all of a sudden. They didn't have that side outline. And when they added it, I was like, woo, it's so awesome. So Writer Group, he says you can get that panel off to the left on Word. It's called the navigation panel. And as long as you use headings, they show up. I do all my revisions in Google Docs after a Scrivener first draft. I don't write anywhere but at home though, although I'll take notes if I'm out and something comes to mind. Yeah, I think it's really all about what works for you and what you prefer, because some people don't want to write, like they have their one computer. This is where they write. This is what they do. And that's it. But I have multiple different like Chromebooks, laptops, iPad, I have a phone, and I like to be able to just write from anywhere. And I just like that ability of Google Docs. Now, some people will mention, and I will mention it here too, once you get about 40,000 words into your Google Doc, it's going to really slow down. So what I do is I will leave the document, go to my main docs home and refresh it, and then reopen the document. And that usually fixes the problem. But it does have, some issues there. Brittany says, will there be video on formatting at some point. I read a post the other day that said the author didn't indent paragraphs while writing, and that confused me. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine how you would know where you are. It would look like stream of consciousness if you didn't. I wonder if they do that as some kind of mental trick to like somehow get them to, I don't know what. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, the betas thing is one of the main reasons that I use Google Docs as well, is because what was happening before, just to kind of I've talked about this on my other channel before, so I won't like go into it too long, but what was happening before is I would have to finish the whole book and get the whole thing ready. And then I would turn it into a Word doc, and then I would send it through email to all of my beta readers and to my editor. And then I would get all their comments back in a few weeks. It would take me a little while to get all my comments back. And then I would have to go through each document individually and input whatever changes were happening into my main document and try to make sure that I didn't miss anybody's comment or a typo or anything like that. But what's awesome about Google Docs is the collaboration, is that you can use Google Docs and then you can just hit share and you share it with your betas with their email address, and then they can all see that same document. So they can go ahead and be making changes. And once they're done making their comments on chapter 1, I can go in and start working on my edits on it. And so I can always see where they are. They can talk to each other. They make jokes with each other sometimes. Like, it's just a really fun collaborative kind of thing. And they can comment together, and then I can go ahead and, do it. So, I can go ahead and do that at that point. So I do not send the drafts to beta and my editor at the same time exactly, but to speed up the process, it's all happening on the same document. So I will be adding a chapter here, let my betas get a little ways into it, and then I will send it to my editor who can start on it. So let's say my betas have gotten to chapter 10, I will send the link to my editor, and she can start at chapter 1, and she can already be working behind the betas, behind me. So it'll be like the betas go through it, I go through after them. And so they'll be on chapter 10 and my editor will start at chapter 1. And so as my betas go down, so it'll be like betas, me, my editor, and we're all kind of going through it like this. And that way we get through the document like 50,000 times faster, because we're not having to wait for anybody else. And then as my editor goes through it, I can go in and make changes. And then it all is, happening on that one document. And then what I do is I will read through it one final time after that, at least one more final time. And I will move things over to a new fresh document. But that for me is really, really cool. So can't you write in Word and then paste into Google Docs, or does that mess up the formatting? Yeah, I think you can do that. I think there are people who do that just to use the collaborative stuff. But again, for me, it's just so much easier to use it in Google Docs because it's so available to use everywhere, and it's easy to keep up with it. Like, I'm not worried that I'm going to lose something because it's always saving like immediately. That's one of my favorite things. So you can share on Word. Can everybody work in the same document? If so, that's a new thing because they didn't used to have that. But things are always like, now that things are changing, things are happening. Technology is moving forward at every moment. So it's always pretty quick changes. So when it comes to dialogue and emotion, I know what I want to happen in my next scene, but every time I write something, I end up deleting it. So since you're in your draft, Dania, this is one of the best things that I can say to you. Don't worry about whether it's the emotion and the dialogue that you want it to do. Like, just get it out of you. Try it. Don't delete it. Just get it out and keep moving forward. As long as you know the heart of it, that you feel like, okay, I know this isn't right, but this is the conversation that needs to happen. Just keep moving forward. When you get back to it, because a lot of times what happens, at least for me, and it's hard to give advice about this specifically because everybody's different, but when you are putting that emotion in, it's like if you guys read even Demons Forever, like the first draft of it, you would just be like, what in the world is happening here? Like, there's very little emotion. There's so many, like, loops and problems, and they're not really having the conversations that I want them to have, and the book is nowhere near what I want it to be. But the only way that I can move forward and get to the better draft is just to keep going. And sometimes it can help to see that draft or that first stab at a scene as just you're exploring it. You're trying to figure it out. But it may be possible that you're not going to get the emotion that you were wanting out of that scene or the perfect dialogue that you were wanting until you go further in the story and then you come back. Because sometimes what you're going to do is you're going to get further in that story and then you're going to be like, that's what they needed to learn in that conversation. I got to go back and add that in. And sometimes you can't see it yet because you need to get further into the story to understand what the character needed to learn earlier on. It's like that hindsight is 2020, like they say. Well, author's hindsight is 2022. So you can see, not 2022, but 2020 also, that you can sometimes, like, there's something that needs to happen in this scene, but sometimes you're just not going to know how it needs to go until you've gotten further in, or sometimes until you've gotten to the very end of the story. And then you'll say, yes, oh my gosh, that's who she is. That's what she's struggling with. That's who she needs to be in this scene. So don't judge yourself so harshly that you're like, it's not coming out the way that I wanted it to, and so I'm going to just delete it until it's better. Like, just keep moving forward, especially if you're stuck on a particular scene. Just give yourself permission to write a little note. I do an XX. I've talked about that before. I do XX, and then I say, this scene sucks. Just keep going. And I just skip it. And then I'll come back to it in edits with fresh eyes. And after that story has gotten to the end, that new scene is like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what it needs to be. And sometimes I'll be just a couple weeks out from publication or days out from publication, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I got to rewrite this whole scene because now it finally makes sense. And there are writers, now I hate to say like, this is the way you got to do it, just keep moving, because there are some writers who have to get, like, they write a scene or a chapter and then they make it perfect before they move on to the next one. And some people, that's just their process, that they edit as they go, and that's what works for them. But if you're finding that you're stuck because it's not coming out the way you wanted to, give yourself permission to move forward and see if something comes out of it later, to make sure that you can do it. So, all right. Hopefully that helps. Kim, strange question, I know, but your eyelashes looked so good in coffee chat and you've mentioned having them done. Can you tell us what you have done exactly? I want to do it too, but I am a newbie with lashes. So last week's coffee chat, I did not have my normal lashes, and this week it's just mascara. Like, there are no lashes to be seen. But so basically I got lash extensions is what it's called. And the ones I was getting were hybrid lash extensions, which are like mink lash extensions and like synthetic lash extensions. And I was getting those. So it takes like 2 hours to go in and get it done the first time. It's kind of expensive, but basically they glue extra lashes onto your lashes, and it lasts for a few weeks, and then you have to go in and just get them kind of filled in every few weeks. And I was really enjoying that because I like having lashes, especially because I'm on video so much and I feel like it just makes your eyes kind of pop. But on this trip, I cannot keep up with that. And I don't want to try to find a new lash technician every single place I go. So I had her remove my lashes, and then, I did discuss it last week. And I did the Glamnetic eyelashes, which are the magnetic ones. And I wore them yesterday in the live coffee chat, or the live Q&A too. And they really, I think they look just as good as the lash extensions, but they're just like, sometimes I don't feel like putting them on, but they're very cute, I think. So Nikki said, this is a strange question, but do you keep all of your old planners or use notebooks after they're finished as memory keepsakes, or do you toss them? I keep them. I keep almost all of them. Now, my A5 planners, since they're just punched pages, I don't keep them forever, because that's kind of my like working planner stuff. I will sometimes keep the weekly ones just for like tax records or whatever, but I tend to like, so if I'm going on, some of you may not know this, but if you're going to have something that you want to write off, like if you go to Staples to go and buy some Post-it notes for your business, you can actually write off the mileage from your house to Staples, as long as that's what you went there for, was to pick up something that is for your business. So if you were ever audited, knock on wood, hopefully never, if you were ever audited and they say, well, how do we know you drove to Staples that day, or, whatever, like, how do we know you had a writer's retreat that you went to, or, whatever. It helps to have a planner that has, or a calendar of some kind that has that writing retreat on it, or that trip to Staples, or, whatever it is that you did that day. And so I tend to keep that stuff in Google Docs as much as possible, or not Google Docs, but my Google Calendar. But I do, if I have like a writing retreat or anything, I like to keep those pages for tax reasons. But otherwise, I think you're supposed to keep them for 7 years or something like that, and then you can get them go. But when I have my notebooks, like my journaling and stuff, I keep all that stuff like pretty much forever, because I love to look back at who I used to be and the things I used to care about. And it is so like life affirming sometimes to go back to 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago journals and see younger me going, oh my gosh, if I could just get out of my fear and start a YouTube channel, I know it would be like something that I would love to do, but I'm so scared to do it because what if it fails, or whatever. And then to be able to look back at that now and be like, oh my gosh, look at how awesome this is. I actually did it. Go you, like go old Sarah, like younger Sarah, you did it. So I always keep all that stuff. Now, where do I keep it? I sometimes will just keep it in boxes, but I also have we have a walk-in closet upstairs. So in this particular house, I've been keeping them on bookshelves that I put into my walk-in closet. So it's like, I don't need clothes as much as I need to keep my old journals and my old planners. So I do keep that stuff. So I don't know if this is Beat Adriana, but it says, I know you do not need any more stress. If you can or have time on Friday, can you say something about your plans for your Great Ideas video series? I think those 2 HB videos are the one I've watched the most. I find them incredibly inspiring, and I've used them to push myself forward. Thank you so much. Just thank you for your kind words there, because you go on and say nice things after that. But so the Great Ideas series kind of died out because of various things, including the timing and just not being able to go forward with it, and some other things that were going on behind the scenes at the time. So the Great Ideas series, for those of you that don't know, was a series that I started all about brainstorming ideas, how to stick with ideas. I have a lot of there were like 8 videos that were supposed to go into that series, and it just kind of got stalled. And then I never had time to pick it back up, but I do have plans to pick it back up. But I think I'm going to, since time has passed, like shorten it to only maybe a couple more videos. And I definitely want to do a video on like how to stick with an idea once you've started it, instead of always moving to the next new shiny thing, because that has been a major request from people. I also really want to do a video on how do you know that an idea is the right one to work on? How do you know it's good enough? When you have like 20 different ideas, how do you choose which one to do? Because I think that's something a lot of people struggle with as well. So I definitely want to do those 2 videos, and they will be coming, but they might be part of the Preptober stuff coming in October on my channel. So just stay tuned. But I'm so glad you've enjoyed those 2 videos for sure. And then Brooke says, thank you for answering my beta reader question last Friday. I have a time management question. One of my favorite kinds of questions. My husband overheard you talking about going to a hotel or Airbnb to write and thought that was a great idea. He wants me to do the same when I get my book back from Faith to do the final edits. My story is about 75,000 words. How many nights should I book for to review and make changes? Can you give any tips about staying focused during my time away? So I used to, I don't know how many of you are like OG followers before I had a YouTube channel and before I had, heart breathings and all of that. But I used to sometimes go live and hang out and, talk about, post photos of what I would call a write-a-palooza. And this is something that I started. I think I didn't start it until after I had Andrew. And it was like one of those things where it's like, once you have a kid at home sometimes, and of course you don't have to have a child to start doing it. Yay, Team Moana. I was pretty sure you were definitely, I know you were around before then. But I don't know how many other people are out here that were around back then. But I used to call them write-a-paloozas, but it was something that was like, I have this baby at home. I've got some books to finish and I cannot focus with him. And there's like laundry piling up and there's so much to do. And I'm sure it was George who suggested it because he's like always giving me great ideas. Just go to a hotel and get it done. And so when I would be behind on a deadline, I would go write at a hotel. And usually I would take a friend with me because it's that much more energy of just like once you go and you're sitting. I would go live on Facebook only because I didn't even have YouTube, right? So I'd go live mostly either on my channel or on my Facebook page, or once I had the Coven group, I would go live in there. And I would post photos just wherever. And yeah, I used to always go with friends because it's harder, I think, sometimes when you're by yourself, because especially if you do have a young baby at home, because when you're by yourself and you're at home or at a hotel for the night, you're just going to want to sleep. And that makes it really hard. So I would go with a friend who was also a writer, and we would go with plans of how much we were going to get done. And sometimes at first it was only ever one night. It was like, okay, this is just a one night write-a-palooza, and I'm going to try to write 10,000 words in a day or whatever it is. And I would check into the hotel at 4, stay up all night, and go home at 8 a.m. or whatever and sleep for half a day. And my most words I ever wrote on one of those write-a-paloozas, I think, was like 17,000 words in a night. And I remember I was with my friend Karen, and I wrote 17,000 words on the book, A Season for Hope, which is a longer novella in the Fairhope series. And sometimes I would go by myself. And when I would go to a hotel, a lot of times I would try to use Priceline because they have express deals. So sometimes you can get like a 3-star hotel and you can get it for like $70 for the night, which is really, really good for like a really nice hotel that has room service or something like that. So I really felt like, I was fancy going into my like, we're getting room service at a hotel or whatever. And, I would do that by myself. Like I wrote almost the entire first episode of Sacrifice Me in one night at a hotel. I was at a Holiday Inn. I very clearly remembered it. I remember exactly what I ordered for room service. That was like one of the most fun writing nights of my life. Then I started kind of expanding it a little bit, sometimes to going on like 2 or 3 night retreats, when Andrew got older, because I didn't want to leave him for more than a night when he was kind of little. But as he got older, I would often go on 2 or 3 night retreats away, and that would be like Airbnbs with a friend and that sort of thing. So for a 75,000 word book, if you want to get through the whole thing in edits, I mean, it depends how extensive edits. If you're just going through what Faith says and it's like a line edit and you're not like doing massive rewrites, you could probably get through it maybe in 2 or 3 days. But when it comes to like, if you're doing your final edits and you're going to be rewriting stuff, you might need more than that time. But it really depends on your personal amount of writing time. But if you can, I think 3 nights is really, really nice, but that might be too long. So 2 nights, it just depends on what your availability is. But 3 nights has been really great because if you do 3 nights, you kind of only have half a day that first night. And then you have the full second day, the full third day, and then you go home the next day. But that gives you kind of like 2.5 days to work. And that's ideal if you have 3 full nights you can do. But not everybody can get away for 3 nights. Oh my gosh, 2 friends every summer for 5 days. We rent a house. I definitely right now could not be away from my kids for 5 days very easily, but maybe when they're older. And that would be expensive too. That's why it's always nice to share it with friends, because when you go by yourself, it can get very, very expensive. But it can be worth it to finish your book, right? But yeah, now, I'm not saying those were 17,000 words that were great, but sometimes when I tend to be a binge writer that I can spend months trying to figure out a plot. And then once I know, I can write really fast. But it's the plotting that holds me back almost always. So, we could go round in circles about that forever. But in terms of focus, how to stay focused when you're away on one of those writing retreats, I think that it's so important to try to do sprints, because if you just show up and you're like, I would really say go in with a plan. So what I would always do is, of course, I'm a planner. You guys know me. This is the way it is. I go in with a specific set of times that I'm going to work, just like it was a work day, right? So if I say, okay, I'm going to check in at 4, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to actually write it down on a calendar. And I'm going to say, I check in at 4. I know I've got to get groceries or I've got to unload stuff. I'm going to eat dinner from 5 to 6, but by 6:30, I'm going to be sitting down and writing, and I'm going to have a 2-hour time chunk from 6:30 to 8:30 that I'm going to write. So I will write that down, and that will be a non-negotiable 2-hour block of time. And then I will separate that block of time into 25-minute sprints. So that'll give me 4 full sprints. I'll do 25 minutes with a 5-minute break, and I will keep a timer running, because I have found, especially when I go with friends, I have found that if you don't have a timer and a very specific plan, you just end up kind of talking and chatting for hours. And then you're like, oh, we better get to work. And then somebody's like, oh, but let me tell you this one last story. And then before you know it, 3 days have gone by and you've written like 1,000 words. So for me, I find it to be so much more, time blocking. Exactly. I find it so much more valuable to have that block of time and have that set plan, and to let my friends know, and to run that timer where you say like, this is what we're going to do, is we're going to have, from 6 to 6:30, or we're going to have from 5 to 6:30, we're going to have dinner, and we're going to have a glass of wine, and we're going to chat. But at 6:30, it's working time. And then at 8:30, you give yourselves another hour to sit and chat or whatever. And my friend Karen and I, we used to go on retreats, we would always pick a movie that we would watch at some point, like when we just are like, okay, I can't do any more writing, let's pick a movie. And then we would pause the movie and talk about story structure. We'd be like, okay, that's the first act climax, which is like such a nerdy, like writer thing to do, but it was really fun. Like, oh, I get it. Like, let's talk about these characters. Let's talk about that. And it would kind of rejuvenate us. Plus, I always like to go somewhere that I can get outside. So whether that ends up being the beach, which I love, or having something like, mountain or a lake or somewhere that you can get out and actually go walk. And if I ever stay at a hotel, I will just go and I will walk on the treadmill, just so I'm getting my body moving a little bit. And then also, I highly recommend for focus too, eating as healthy of food as you can. When I first started the writing retreats, I would go and eat a bunch of junk food and be drinking Red Bulls and stuff. And I would always crash for like 2 days afterward. I would just be like, whoa, I felt terrible. And so when I started, okay, let's not eat any sugar while I'm here. Let's eat salads. Let's eat good protein. And it might sound boring, because if you get away, you might want to eat all the snacks, but the healthier I would eat and the more water I would drink, the better my writing would be and the more focused I would stay. So those are probably my best tips. All right. They had a timer gadget at Office Depot last time we were there. I have this timer that's called a Timular that I use for tracking my time. But when it comes to writing sprints, I have an app on my phone. Really, you can use any app that is a Pomodoro timer, and that can count as your sprints, and you just set it for the time that you want. And I run off Red Bull. Yeah, I used to too. And it's just one of those things. It's like when you're trying to be focused, it gets to be like, especially if you're doing multiple days, you can run off Red Bull and candy or whatever, and you could kind of push yourself for a couple days. But by that third day, man, you would just feel like crap, because staying up all night, that kind of thing. And if you're there for multiple days, try very carefully to get the sleep that you need, because it is good to try to make the most of the time that you have, and you want to stay up late and do all those things and sit and talk and, all of that. But if you don't get rest, then it's hard to really be focused on the last couple of days. But when I would just go for one night, it was kind of like, let's do this. And I would write for 10 hours straight. And I would always, of course, get up, walk around the hotel, go to the pool, write, walking around on the treadmill or whatever. But it would be 10 hours of just 30-minute breaks here and there. And then I would come home and sleep. And you can ask George too. On those kind of days when I would give myself that huge long period of time for writing, and then I would come home the next day. Like if I would write 14,000 words in a night, I would come home the next day and I couldn't form sentences correctly because my brain was so bad. And it is actually horrible for the body, not just the sugar, but the staying up and staying focused for that long. And I found out, we have a history of Alzheimer's and dementia in my family and on my dad's side. And I am kind of terrified of it because I think what a horrible thing for anyone to go through, but especially for a writer to be healthy in your body, but lose your mental capacity early on. It's like, I really want to try to avoid it. But it's like for my uncle who passed away, it started in his early 60s. And I'm just like, I need more time than that. And so I have done a lot of research on it and found out that actually the more you stay up all night, you can actually be hurting yourself when it comes to dementia and stuff. So now I prioritize my rest and eating as good as I can. So I try not to do those all-nighters anymore unless it's like very rare, few and far between, like trying to hit that pre-order that still couldn't come out on time, that kind of thing. But I don't recommend it. I recommend making sure you still get your rest, even if you're focused for the writing retreat all day. So, all right, you guys, that is basically it. I hope you enjoyed this. I know we talked about a lot of writing stuff, but hopefully you guys still enjoy it. So on Monday, we will be going live for episode 7 from a hotel room, and I'll be trying out my Razer computer for the first time, and hopefully we'll get it, going, in terms of which microphone I'm going to use. We're going to practice and everything else. But yeah, we've got our movers are coming in the morning. Oh, what you got? That's red. You want to say hi to everybody? No? No hi? That. Hi. That. Yeah, you want this? That. You can have that. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I can't believe this adventure is really starting. Hopefully everything's going to fit in our storage pod and everything's going to go really smoothly tomorrow. Tonight is probably going to be one of those nights where we're up probably later than we should be, but it's all going to be good. Everybody wants to see your face, little girl. Want to say hi? Hi. Yeah. It's almost Evie's birthday. So we will probably be up a little bit too late tonight, but we are going to try to get some good rest. But we have movers tomorrow, and then, we're moving forward. Oh, the neuropsychologists here will say dementia isn't hereditary. Well, that is good to hear. My dad's brother and his mother both suffered from that. So it seems like it might be, but it also could be like environment and so forth too. So I would like to avoid it. So I would love all the encouragement that I will not have to go through that. I would hate for anyone to go through that. But yeah, so we will still be kind of here in Charleston for a few more days while we finish cleaning up the house. But this is our last night in this house and our last day having a coffee chat or any kind of live from this house. So a little bit bittersweet because we had such amazing times on these lives from this office, but there will be more to come from other locations. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here on this happy Friday. And I will see you guys on Monday as our adventure begins. All right. Bye, everybody. You want to say bye? Bye. Bye.